Hello. Skills are critical to the economic and social well-being of countries and people. But creating effective skills policies is complex, requiring collaboration across government and with key stakeholders. The report, Insight from Skills Strategies in the European Union, targets precisely that challenge. It highlights 9 essential characteristics of successful skills strategies. Both the OECD and the European Commission have been actively supporting countries to build effective skills strategies. It has been a privilege to work alongside so many EU countries and to see firsthand the positive impacts these strategies have had in strengthening their skill systems. Now, a decade since the first strategies were introduced, and with the momentum from the recent European Year of Skills, this is the perfect moment to reflect on what we have collectively learned. The main goal of this project was to provide practical advice to countries wishing to adopt a strategic, coordinated, and inclusive approach to skills policy. Before I introduce these lessons, I'd like to provide you with some brief background information on this project. In recent years, skill strategies have become increasingly common across the OECD as governments seek to leverage the potential of their people to confront challenges such as skills shortages or low productivity, or seize opportunities such as taking advantage of new technologies. We have examined 26 national skill strategies developed in Europe since 2014, with 14 of these being developed with the support of the OECD. In this report, we have distilled key lessons learned from the collective European experience with skill strategies over the past decade. But these insights are valuable not only for EU countries, but for any country aiming to adopt a strategic, coordinated, and inclusive approach to skills policy. Indeed, we at the OECD have worked with more than 10 countries outside of the EU as well to develop skill strategies, and the lessons we have identified here are reflective of their experiences as well. So why are so many countries developing skill strategies? Primarily, it's because they do recognize that skills are essential to their economic and social well-being. However, skills policy is a complex domain that requires coordination among multiple government ministries, agencies, and levels of government, covering diverse areas like education, employment, economic development, innovation, immigration, and more. It also requires action from a wide range of stakeholders, including education and training providers, the private sector, labor organizations, community sector organizations, and others. Skills strategies are a response to this complexity. They allow countries to take a coordinated and inclusive approach to skills policy and provide strategic policy direction for the medium to long term. Those who have contributed to developing skills strategies identify the following additional benefits. Promoting collaboration by breaking down silos between policy sectors and departments, bringing stakeholders together to address pressing skills challenges and opportunities, establishing a shared language for discussing skills, ensuring skills remain a priority on the policy agenda despite competing demands, and facilitating crucial reforms to strengthen national skill systems. With that said, now I'll introduce you to the 9 essential lessons that highlight the key features of successful skills strategies. Lesson 1 is to establish clear objectives. A common pitfall in planning, whether it's a skill strategy or something else, is jumping into action without first clarifying one's objectives. The risk is that partners and stakeholders hold different assumptions about the objectives and the intended outcomes, which will complicate reaching agreement on priorities, as well as on the scope and form of the strategy. Clear objectives provide those involved with a shared vision and help to clarify the scope of the strategy. For example, the objectives chosen will influence whether it has a broad orientation towards developing skills for the betterment of both the economy and society, or a narrower labor market orientation. In similar ways, they will impact whether the strategy will cover all or most stages of education and skills development, or whether it will focus more narrowly on making higher education and vocational education training more relevant to labor market needs, promoting adult learning, and making more effective use of skills in workplaces. Lesson 2 is to seize the right window of opportunity. Though timing isn't everything, it often makes all the difference. we have identified a few moments that are particularly advantageous for launching a strategy. First is the start of an electoral mandate, which reduces the likelihood of the strategy being sidelined by shifting political priorities. Second is in anticipation of the formation of a new government, a timing which allows the strategy to influence the priorities of the incoming government. Third is when there are opportunities to link the launch of the strategy to high-profile skills events or funding opportunities, which can enhance visibility, generate support, and help secure necessary resources. Examples of such opportunities in the European context would include the launch of a new European skills agenda or the European Year of Skills. Latvia, for instance, aligned the development of its education development guidelines for 2021 to 2027 with the EU programming period. This alignment allowed Latvia to make effective use of EU funding and ensure consistency across strategic initiatives, which provides us with a very good segue to the next lesson. Lesson 3 is to align the skills strategy with other government strategies to support the achievement of broader national objectives, while at the same time reducing duplication, fostering synergies, and making the most of limited resources. In 80% of the cases we examined, efforts were taken to align skills strategies with other government strategies in related areas like employment and economic development. To take a tangible example, Greece has 2 related skills strategies: the Strategic Plan for Vocational Education, Training, Lifelong Learning, and Youth, which focuses on formal education, and the Strategy for Labor Force Upskilling in Connection to the Labor Market, which focuses on non-formal training and learning. Alignment between these 2 strategies is facilitated by 2 governance councils with overlapping membership, as well as through ongoing interministerial dialogue and monthly committee working meetings involving social partners. Lesson 4 is to build the strategy on a strong evidence base. In any given country, there are many areas in which skills performance could be improved, but as we live in a world of scarce resources, we need to set priorities. An evidence-based assessment helps to make such a prioritization process possible. Additionally, an evidence-based assessment offering an impartial perspective on the performance of the skill system can also help build public confidence in the strategy building process. For example, evidence-based assessments of the performance of skill systems in Bulgaria and Lithuania, undertaken by the OECD, led to those countries to adopt broad strategies focusing on skills development throughout life, from schooling to adulthood, as well as on strengthening the governance of their skill systems. Whereas similar assessments in Ireland and Flanders, Belgium, led them to adopt a narrower focus on promoting adult learning, reducing skills imbalances, and improving skills utilization in workplaces. Lesson 5 is to find champions. These are influential leaders or advocates such as a minister, a senior official, or important stakeholder outside of government who can build support and maintain momentum for the strategy. A good example can be found in the Netherlands, where its Social and Economic Council, a non-governmental body representing social partners and external experts, was a member of the steering committee for the strategy. This body acted as a key champion, bringing together stakeholders to discuss opportunities, challenges, and potential solutions, and advocating for the strategy to a new incoming government. Lesson 6 is to adopt a whole-of-government approach. Skills policy intersects with multiple policy domains, including education, employment, economic development, innovation, and immigration. As a result, an effective skills strategy requires collaboration across various ministries, agencies, and levels of government. It is encouraging that in all the skill strategies we examined, they involved cooperation among multiple government entities. Ministries responsible for education and employment were consistently involved, and ministries responsible for the economy were involved in about 80% of the strategies. Additionally, various other ministries and agencies were involved to varying extents, depending on the country. A notable example comes from Ireland, which established a high-level skills implementation group in 2023 to drive a whole-of-government approach to national skills policy. The group brings together representatives from all government departments and agencies with skills-related responsibilities to coordinate and align their efforts. The group also works alongside the National Skills Council, which serves as the primary forum for strategic engagement with industry and social partners. Which makes for a perfect segue to our next lesson. Lesson 7 is to engage stakeholders such as education and training providers, the private sector, labor unions, and community sector organizations to learn from their insights and experiences, build their support for policy reform, and motivate them to take action themselves, as ensuring that people develop the right skills and use them effectively is not solely the responsibility of the government. It is, in fact, a shared responsibility for all. It is encouraging to see that in all the countries we examined, employers were actively engaged in the development of skills strategies and that labor unions were involved in the majority of them as well. Additionally, various other stakeholders were once again involved to varying extents depending on the country. A good example can be found in the development of Poland's Integrated Skills Strategy 2030, which engaged more than 500 stakeholders over 3 years through a structured framework called the Network of Cooperation. This network facilitated collaboration among regional governments, labor offices, teacher training institutions, and social dialogue councils, thereby facilitating knowledge exchange and aligning efforts. Lesson 8 is to adopt an implementation approach that advances the objectives of the strategy. For many countries, this will entail developing an implementation plan with clear steps, responsibilities, timelines, and key performance indicators, and monitoring guidelines as well to facilitate coordination and effective implementation. This may seem an obvious lesson, but people often overlook how a strategy's design affects its ease of implementation. Poor design can reduce implementation efficiency, or even worse, make it unfeasible. An interesting example comes from Bulgaria, where collaboration with the European Union's Directorate General for Structural Reform Support and the OECD provided advice for creating an action plan for its skills strategy. This initiative included advice and guidance on creating a monitoring and reporting framework with clear indicators, responsibilities, and governance mechanisms, as well as advice for developing a communications campaign to raise awareness about the plan. Finally, Lesson 9 is to monitor and evaluate implementation to ensure the strategy's implementation remains on track and to provide opportunities to make adjustments in response to changing conditions and circumstances. While the importance of this lesson may also seem obvious, fewer than half the strategies we examined included regular reporting requirements. This is clearly an area where countries can improve. A positive example is Norway's strategy for skills policy 2017 to 2021, which was rigorously monitored and evaluated through the oversight of its Skills Policy Council, which was comprised of all partners involved during the strategy's development phase. This has been a very high-profile summary of the report. I encourage you to read the full report to benefit from its richer detail, concrete country examples, and very practical advice. For those of you with limited time, please note that we've created a very short policy brief summarizing these key lessons. Thank you very much for listening. To learn more about our work in supporting countries, regions, and sectors to develop skills strategies, please explore the provided web links or reach out to us directly.